A sonic circle. What does that mean? If we could stand as just like in a diamond shape here, a perfect amoebic diamond shape, then I'll start off by sharing an asana that spontaneously announces itself in this moment. And then if you would like to emulate that while I'm doing it, then when I'm finished, I'll just turn to the next person, and so on and so forth. Now, if you're feeling a little bit shy, usually we do this with a lot of people. If you're feeling a little shy, you can just pass to the next person. Are we ready? Because I don't think this is happening yet. So this is perfect. Yeah, and this is going to, just think you're going to be famous all over the world. Who would have guessed? You're going to be on the internet. You're welcome to smile at the audience while you're doing your asana. Let's see. This is extremely unusual.
Are you passing the asana wheel?
We all passed on our asana.
Oh. Can I try it again?
Yeah, because I thought we were in the hands of a yoga teacher, mainly. Have you noticed just a little tinkling of the energetic system has commenced? And secondly, furthermore, is the interactive, poetic, prayerful circle. So I'd love to start again and invite you to think about what would you love to create, to manifest in your life today, at this moment, every day, at your own festival of living, and on earth as a general principle. It can be the most eccentric, zany, hilarious, serious, deep, profound, compassionate, as you like. So I'm going to stand fairly closely so that the mic can be heard to our audience at large. We are. And it's an unusual festival-style talk for the audience out there. My name is Happy Heavenly Oasis. Welcome to Fort Bragg, California, and to Sherry Soria and Dan Latterman's festival. Thank you to Sherry Soria and Dan. We just started with the interactive asana or yoga circle that you can do at home. Yes, it is safe. So instead of going to that yoga class, if you like, you're welcome to create your own yoga class. Just do that with your friends, family, housemates, neighbors. You go on your back deck or in your living room or wherever you can find a bit of space. And if you're a beginner at yoga and you would like to learn and you're on a budget, let's say, all you do is invite your friends. You stand in a circle. And what's beautiful about this technique is that it's also a combination with meditation. See, it's a really intimate way to commune with your friends, as we've just done, because they can drop their day, you get out of the car, you come into this sacred space, and then you commune with your friends in this very precious way where you learn from each other. There's no teacher, there's no student, we're all both. And so the way we start the Raw Spirit Festival potluck celebrations, of which we've done over 100 so far since this time last year, is with an interactive meditation yoga circle. And usually there's between 50 and 100 people, so you can imagine we move rather rapidly. And we try to see if we can go throughout the circle without a single person talking. And we challenge the group to see if we can do that. And it's so beautiful when you have 100 people doing this together. And people feel like, wow, I never knew you did Tai Chi or you did yoga or you could do this move or that. So it really helps people get to know each other in a different capacity than just conversation. After we do this yoga meditation circle, then we love to go into this poetic prayer circle where anybody can start, but I'll start in this case. And it's like a game. And before we indulge in the feast that we're about to receive, which is usually at a potluck, we start by just focusing on whatever it is we would like to bring to the world, see manifest on earth, widespread, and in our personal lives. And so we just spontaneously flow. There's no right or wrong. And what's beautiful about this is that it's one long, unending sentence. So throw out your English grammar teacher's advice, and we always go from person to person midstream in the middle of our thought. Not at the word and necessarily, but in the middle of our thought, we'll just, like for me to you, so I'll start and then it will flow in this direction. So we call on our highest selves to bring in the gratitude of the galaxies, far and wide. We feel the shimmering presence of angels and fairies and elves who are coming from the woods of coastal California, and the oceanic divas who are coming up from onto the beach and into this very room, into your home. And we feel so blessed to be alive, to be healthy, to be wholesome among friends. And we would love to spread this peaceful, loving kindness, bliss, far and wide, giving our smile to everyone we greet, because it makes us feel so exquisitely
lovely. I am enjoying the way that you're sharing with almost every person I see you interact with. You're sharing love and bliss and kindness. And that's part of the reason I came here, was to observe that in you, see what I can absorb for myself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Me too. I'm so glad to be here. And I've waited 2 years to hear you speak again, which you've been a highlight for me for this to come here and to see all these people interacting and be part of this. To be part of this community that is happening here on the beautiful Mendocino coast. I love it.
I love it, and I love everyone that's in this area. Is just beautiful. Thinking about health and well-being for the earth, and that's probably my my wish is that all the people of the world can feel what we feel in this area right now, and that would make the world a better place. I just it's such a wonderful feeling and great area. Hope the whole world can be like this.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So feel free to take a seat. I'm here. This is the Let's Get Wild Council. I'm here with Brian Yamamoto and Shoya Warrington and with Bill Ernst. So I always like to talk with a group of people. So if anybody feels inspired to talk, just feel free to give me a signal and we'll make that happen. Let's get wild. This was the subject of last year's talk. However, I prefer to other than repeat myself, so it's always new and innovative. So I love to just talk about what is it that gives me supernatural health. A person who started off her life with pneumonia at birth, with a hernia at birth, who was in and out of the hospital for the first 30 years, frequently with antibiotics, unfortunately subjected to diabetes type 2 that was self-caused for my own lack of wisdom regarding diet, and also with tuberculosis, which was contracted in India, which is a disease primarily of the lungs, and it's considered a chronic disease. In fact, even though I'm raw vegetarian, I still do have scarring, and the government of New Zealand, I was going to become a resident. They were very concerned about the tuberculosis, and then they found out that, in fact, it had been miraculously healed. So then there's also typhoid fever that I contracted in Guatemala and Belize. And that typhoid fever, I was on antibiotics, chloramphenicol, which brought my white blood cell count so low that I had to have blood tests once a week in Canada, where I was seeking assistance. I didn't have medical insurance in America. It would have cost me tens of thousands of dollars to do the treatment. Fortunately, I was a tree planter in Canada, our neighbor to the north, and they were very kind and generous and benevolent with me in that treatment. So I was basically in quarantine for almost a year in Canada while I was planting trees deep in the wilderness. And then besides these diseases, of course, there's arthritis, which is, most people don't know, affiliated with diabetes. Is that both of these happen to do with too much sugar and fat in the diet and just extreme eating conditions. So because of my mother's fondness for ice cream and chocolate, not the good kind of chocolate, before I was born, that was my primary in-the-womb diet. So that's how I became born, how I was born with disease to start with. And so I'm really a living, talking miracle. So for me, every day is a fabulous day. My name is Happy Oasis, and I truly feel that most of the time, I'm really happy. And there's a few things that I do that I like to share with you. Most of them are in this book, Bliss Conscious Communication. There's over 100 healthy living tips that have to do with communication, which is really vital because if you think about it, communication comes from the word commune, which means together become one. And when we feel at one with the ambiance, then the need for unhealthy eating is greatly reduced. Because a lot of people eat for emotional reasons, And I still do once in a long while, but I was eating my entire life for emotional reasons when I was a child without even being aware of it, because it was all around me, and it was a pervasive habit in my home, in our neighborhood, at my school, that it was just a very unnatural way. Now, I never have had an overweight condition, maybe 5 pounds more, but I was always an athlete. However, raw vegan foods is considered right now the #1 diet for weight loss in an easy manner. And I personally met hundreds of people who are now friends of mine who have been obese and have now regulated their weight. So it's also fantastic for that. So what I noticed is I have a lot of friends, even raw vegetarian friends, our downfall tends to be sugar. So what I've been telling my friends lately is that if you notice that you have this predilection for excessive sugar in your diet, then what is it in your life that is not sweet? Why are we seeking sugar in our diet? It means that somehow in our relationships with people, we're not cultivating the sweetness that humanity, with an emphasis on humane, is meant to cultivate. So my feeling is that if there's more loving kindness, if there's more generosity of spirit, if there's more tenderness in our expression, in our everyday lives, then our entire dietary habits will soften just as we soften. So if we look at our diet, we have extreme raw veganism, where you can define that for yourself. And you have to be rugged, and you have to be tough to even do it. Or can we soften our diet? And can we moderate our diet? Because, as you know, the sages of yore and of today and of tomorrow, they all agree on one aspect. And that is sometimes we need to be extreme to find the middle way. But in the end, and hopefully not before the end, it's really about homeostasis. It's really about how can we achieve balance on a hormonal level, on an emotional level, intellectual, and that's what the yogis of the ages are always aiming to achieve, is that sense of balance. So we are such complex organisms. Like, we could go on for years about how to achieve balance. So what I would like to do today is just share with you some of my latest and greatest and simplest, nearest and dearest to you, innovative technologies and beyond technologies as to how we can achieve homeostasis. What some of my own personal pitfalls have been, and feel free to join me, or also to come up with your own. So that's why we have the microphone, the second mic, which is live with the audience. So what I'd like to do is invite you to add your own comments and to add your corollaries to my own if you have some even better health advice for everybody listening out there with us today. So one of them is, recently I did a sabbatical. And I love that word sabbatical, which is Sabbath, which means Saturday, which also I guess means Saturn, but it also means seventh. So to give ourselves a break, basically. And I've been, of course, putting on the Raw Spirit Festival for 5 years. People usually ask me, what are your health secrets? And I've been saying lately, the last few years, lack of sleep and lack of exercise and a lot of work that I love. So basically, it's the work that I love, as Lao Tzu said, to really focus on, whatever we love and be of full service. But it's true about the lack of sleep and the lack of exercise. So now I've decided to actually walk the talk and skip the talk. So this morning, I woke up and went swimming in the ocean. And I'm traveling with a young man named Nature right now. And he said, I've never done this before. And I woke him up. And I said, before you're awake, just come with me and run to the beach. And don't stop running. And just take off all your clothes right before we get, to the beach, just your shorts. So he took everything off and he's like this, half asleep. And then he runs. I said, when you hit the water, run faster. And so 52 degrees in Fort Bragg, California. We went swimming this morning. He said, that is the best birthday gift I could have ever imagined. That was so much fun. He said, that's how I start my day every day. Now, I'm kind of a pristine, like I love to be clean. So there's a few things I do. I've been traveling for 9 months this trip in my little Dolphin RV, and every day I take at least 3 or 4 baths. Waterfalls, rivers, lakes, ocean. I love to mix it up. And so, like yesterday, I went under a waterfall and a river and a lake and the ocean. And so you can never take too many baths, you know, as I say in India. So bathing, if you think about it, it's a form of baptism. It's really a holy thing to do. Now, if you're on the road and you really can't bathe, like I'm about to go to Burning Man in a couple weeks. I've never been. And I bought some vodka. That's right. Can you imagine somebody talking about 100 proof C grams vodka at a raw vegetarian alcohol-free event? That's because I went through in 6 weeks, I went through a whole bottle, like this big, small bottle of vodka. And what I do is I take a harsh washcloth and I rub it on my skin. And then with friends, we'll rub each other, like all of our skin, with this. And when you have no shower and you're traveling, you feel so good. Yeah, and so now I got into this habit. It takes years of skin cells off you to do this little rubby-dubby. Now, another habit that I just developed lately is being free of email. I got to a point with the Raw Spirit Festival that I was emailing 18 hours a day, like 6, 7 days a week. And I would be like, and so now if you must email, what I recommend is going on sabbatical. Like I didn't email for 3 months, and now I'm emailing 1 hour a day. And if I don't finish my emails that hour, doesn't matter, because people already know that I generally don't answer my emails anymore. So I'm already off the hook. People are already upset with me. It's very liberating. Now, when I do that hour of email, I do it in 2 ways. Either I lie down on the bed or on the beach or something, or I do Tai Chi. So you just stand there. It's like Qigong. Before I even start, you make up your own style of like karate move, but I'll kind of like, and then I'm like super powerful, email, knock it out. And then I told David Wolf this, he's like, that's really what I do too. So there's a lot of people who do this kind of emailing. Now, another kind of sabbatical I've been taking lately is of juicing. I've been traveling with no electric appliances. It's so liberating to make your smoothie in the old-fashioned way. Why was it called a milkshake? Because they put it in the jar and they would shake it up. And what's better exercise for your biceps and your triceps? To shake it in a jar or to push the button? And what sounds better? And what actually sounds like pretty nice music, depending on what you put in there. You've got a little shaker. You can get some rhythm going. So that's how we travel. We're simplifying. Voluntary simplicity is so exquisitely fun. Also, I've been on food sabbaticals. So I'm back at what I used to do for years and years. Gandhi inspired me as a teenager to start, it's called Ekadashi, you might have heard. We full moon meditate and new moon meditate. So every full moon and every new moon, with exception, because I'm a human being, I love to do a 24-hour to 36-hour fast. Now, if you feel that you need to, let's say you're a woman on your moon during the moon, and you've been, as you know, and guys know this too, right before the moon cycle for women is getting started, women tend to eat more. You want to get bloated, like you want to have more nutrition or something. It's a curious thing, but it's true. So if you're feeling that slightly bloated feeling, what I recommend anytime is to fast. Like I fast during that menstrual cycle for 2 to 3 days, and it's gone after 2 days. Because I just honor that time period. I also spend a day of silence. And I have such a joyous time with it. So at Ekadashi, we, full moon and new moon meditation, 24-hour fast, whatever fasting is to you. Now to me, it's just water. Maybe a little bit of lemon. Maybe a little bit of cayenne if it's cold, but that's it. Otherwise, sometimes I do the real yogic fast, which is a dry fast. If you've never done it and you're very healthy, you've got to try it. The dry fast is a real challenge, and it's very psychologically fascinating. So if you let's say you wake up at dawn, drink a lot of water, but then don't drink anything until the next dawn. If you're healthy, it's not going to kill you. If you're not healthy, you want to, use doctor supervision. It's a little bit extreme. But if you're a healthy, raw vegetarian for a while, what it does is it makes us realize that we can live without water for actually days. And in these times, in all times, life is precarious. And you never know if you're going to get lost, you're going to be rounded up, you're going to be on an airplane and you miss the flight, you're going to be, your train breaks down, suddenly you're thrown in jail, you're in a war, you're in all these situations. I like to be prepared for anything. So this way I feel comfortable in my body that I can actually last for 3 days without water and for probably easily 30 days without any food. Now, of course, if you're in those extreme situations, I recommend urine therapy. I've only done that a few times. Everybody has their own hypothesis on that. And so that I reserve only if I'm like lost in the desert and extremely thirsty and need to gain some clarity for myself. But other people, like Gandhi, he drank that every day. So that has saved so many people's lives. People who are in jail, people who are in war. Unfortunately, I spent a lot of time in the war zone. I've spent about 15 years overseas, and I was adopted by a number of tribal families. And so we often would hike long distances. And what we do, another unusual health tactic, is that when we wake up in the morning, now this morning I went swimming in the ocean, and I didn't drink the ocean water. But when I'm in the tropics or in New Zealand or places where the ocean is really clean, I drink a gulp or two of ocean water. It's actually really good for you. It cleans out your system, that saline solution and its natural chemical balance. So basically what we do when I'm hiking in the Himalayas is all the guides from Tibet and all the guides from Nepal and India, we do concur that it's important to get down and drink from the source of the stream. Always go to the side of the mountain and drink from the source. Put your face right in there, and it actually rejuvenates the skin, and you drink as much as you can. And I'm talking like half a gallon. And what happens when you drink as much water as you can is you start hiking down the trail, all your hands become bloated. Your body becomes bloated. And for just maybe 2 or 3 minutes, you feel a little awkward because you're so full, but then your body absorbs it. And I'm talking hydration, like most Americans have never experienced hydration before in their life. And you start hiking, and for the next 8 hours, if you have half a gallon of water, you have so much energy. Now why? We're like a battery. So you fill up your battery completely to the full, right? All the water that we used to have to put in our batteries, and then you just run like crazy. It's so empowering. So then the food becomes optional. But then what I do is funny because it's Nature's birthday. The guy who's at my booth, he's traveling with me at the moment. And so I was telling everybody that I woke him up and I said, we're going swimming in the ocean. That's my first birthday gift to you. He went in. As soon as we got out of the ocean, he's like, that was so much fun. Then I said, look where we are here. We're outside of a convenience store. Do you see anything really convenient about that? We're going to help ourselves at the convenience store. He said, but it's closed. It's like only 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, isn't that convenient? Because look what's in front of it. It's like, flowers? I said, yeah, these are nasturtium. And we're having nasturtium for breakfast. This is a very convenient store. It's so convenient, you don't even need to go inside. And they're providing you with free, fresh, raw vegetarian, living breakfast right after a swim in the ocean. He's like, this is fantastic. So we just feasted. I fed him flowers. He fed me flowers. We fed each other leaves. I said, a lot of people have a floral deficiency. And if we really want to be beautiful, like, David Wolf wrote one book about beauty, about cucumbers and radishes and sulfurs and all that, it's true. But what about the flower diet? Someday, somebody here's got to write, the Flora-Abundant Diet book. And I feel that it's really important to get in touch with the land that we are on, and the ocean and the water, because if you think about it, we're 90, 80%, depending on if we're hydrated or not, water. So that water is Emoto proved, it communicates with us. So that's why when we go swimming in the ocean and the rivers and the waterfalls that are right there, we are literally getting in touch with our environment. Instead of having that piped water that's coming through with the chlorine and the fluoride and all the madness that goodness knows where it came from and how long it's been sitting there, and if that water is actually happy. Like the water, and that's why nature this morning, when we went swimming in the ocean, he's like, I feel so happy. I said, because the ocean is happy. Because it's free, and it's flowing, and it's wild. And so are we in our natural state. So after I go for my morning swim, and then of course you go for your little hike, I like to skip, mix it up, maybe climb a little rocky mountain. Then it's really important that we, before we get into our service, that we meditate. Now, I don't know what that looks like for you. It might be good enough to just go on that hike and that swim, but I really like to just sit, not anywhere. I don't go back to the camper unless it's raining. I like find the spot. On my hike, I find the perfect rock or the perfect spot on the beach. Like if you were the yogi that we are, the enlightened being, where would we go and find that vortex of energy? And I go and I just sit there and really feel what it's like to be inside of a living, thriving city of billions of cells who every one of them is as powerful as a cracked atom, and feel the potential of the life force that's in us and the miracle of being alive. And it's so splendid. And I love to, one of my weaknesses is breathing, is that I get like so excited about life, you know. I'm like type A+ personality or something, is that I forget to breathe sometimes. So what I love about going to the ocean is I focus on the waves and utilize that as a breathing pattern. Or if you hear the traffic going by, vroom, that's a reminder to breathe. You get to the stop site, that's a reminder to breathe. Now, it's really important for us all to do yoga every day, a union, as you know. So as the bankers that I go to this bank, well, in town where I live, but I also go all around the country and have to go to the bank and do this, and go to the post office. So the bank and the post office are my roving yoga studios. And I was in Ashland, Oregon the other day, and I was at the post office. I was doing a little bit of Tai Chi, and then suddenly I just like broke into doing some asanas, and everybody in the line is looking at me like, I said, isn't it about time? This is a really long line. It's 100 degrees outside, that we all do some yoga together. And they're like, what a great idea. So we all started like stretching, and everybody's teaching each other different flowy moves. And every time I go to the bank, all the bank tellers start doing yoga. Like at the bank, the one that I go to in Arizona. And they're like, we love it when you come in because we get to take a little break and we, relax a little bit, and it actually improves their work. So I recommend doing yoga whenever you can, on the slide. Now, I did write a book that I'm never going to publish. It's called Yoga While Driving. I realize that is really dangerous to do yoga while driving, but you can figure it out on your own. You can do all kinds of yoga while you're like in city traffic, while you're at the light. You can stretch. Your car, the various aspects of your car can actually add to your program and stretch you beyond, like for me, the dashboard and the side, those are props. But because I'm not going to publish this book, because I don't want to be liable if people use it irresponsibly, you're going to have to figure out those. That will be a separate class on yoga while driving. So we talked about sabbaticals and how important it is to take a sabbatical. And I tell people, I want to be Jewish. Like, not just because the Old Testament is full of wisdom, but because why is it, and I don't mean to be prejudiced, but I really believe that there is something to our friends who comprise most of the Raw Spirit movement who do have a Jewish upbringing. They just happen to be very intelligent, right? Let's face it. And I'm like, why are my friends so intelligent? And so I was like, they take Sabbath. They actually, or we actually, now because I've decided I'm Jewish in spirit and I'm going to take Sabbath. And Sabbath might not be on Saturday. It might be like, this is the day, every 5 to 10 days that I can actually work it in my schedule. I'm going to just do nothing. And really praise the Lord, however you want to say that. Give thanks to creation that we're in this body and really give it deep rest. And so I realized that intelligence and rest, that we need both. We need night, we need day, and we really can thrive on that. So not just Sabbath from emailing, as I was saying, and Sabbath from juicing and electrical appliances, and then Sabbath from food, as we were talking about doing a dry fast for 24 hours. If you're a very healthy raw vegetarian, you've got to try it, because it's such an adventure to see if you can live without water for 24 hours, and you see how internal you get. And then you realize how precious water is. But also Sabbath of working, and Sabbath from talking. As a former Forest Service fire lookout, I lived in very remote locations for 12 6-month summers. So for 6 years total, I didn't talk. And it created an unusual personality that, you know, what are you going to do? You get to know yourself very well and feel very comfortable with our own body. And then people are optional. And then when we see people, we're like, wow, Brian, I'm so glad to see you. You're so precious. Because suddenly everybody becomes like the beloved. Everybody becomes the most important person in the world. And if we're not feeling that, then we've been around too many people for too long. And it's really important that we go back inside. And maybe if we're not feeling that, maybe we haven't developed in ourselves enough loving kindness for ourselves and others that we're enabling ourselves to be open to the love. So I decided life is really short, because most of my friends, by the age I was 30, most of my friends had died of famine, because I was adopted by tribes, and in wars, and I ended up like in refugee camps for years, and I was at orphanages, and I was the one that people called happy, because I decided as a teenager, I can tell you the story later, but I decided that I'm going to be a happy oasis unto the world. And the more difficult and perilous the situation, I'm going to just stand there and just like beam joy. And so, sure enough, life tested me with 7 battles where almost all my friends died, and I ended up taking care of their kids at refugee camps. So many kids, hundreds of kids, with me and just a few parents, that there's no way in the world I could have adopted them. Like, it's just too many. And so, basically what that made me feel like is, in the first world country like America, whenever people say, oh my gosh, like I was in the car maybe a couple years ago with somebody, and he goes, 4-letter word, I'm not going to repeat it. 4-letter word, 4-letter word, 4-letter word. I'm like, I said, what's up? And we're in Los Angeles, and he's getting road rage. I was like, road rage? Like, why do people do that in this country? I can't relate. And he said, I left my sunglasses at home. Swear, 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 swear. I thought, that is a problem? Like, worthy of vociferating unpleasantries? You got to be kidding. So then, but there's only one way to handle people that do this in this country. So I decided, to his astonishment, I will swear with every swear word I can come up with and try not to smile, and hit my head on the dashboard, my hand like this on the dashboard. He turns to me and looks at me like, that you're crazy. I said, exactly. So we really don't have that many problems here. Yet, now I did make a vow when I was a teenager that I will work, because I decided not to have children when I was about 5, because I saw the suffering at large around the planet somehow. So I said, instead of having children, and I'm going to be of service in the third world country that needs me most. So 5 years ago, I came back to America because I had this weird feeling that things were going to shift, and that the Raw Spirit Festival needed to come here at this time to help people who are interested in shifting into a voluntary simplicity kind of lifestyle, to make that transition with relative grace and ease, and that everybody who goes to that Raw Spirit Festival and to this fine event here can then be a leader and take it back to our neighbors. So what I do in my spare time is I started in my own neighborhood this group. We meet once a month when I'm home. And what we do is we talk about environmental solutions. All my neighbors, like everybody's saying, Happy, where are we going to move? Are we going to Costa Rica? Are we going to Hawaii? Are we going to Panama, the Philippines? We're going to all these paradises. I said, no, actually, we are going everywhere all at once. The main thing is, could you close that door, please? You follow your bliss, and wherever our highest calling is, practical with inspirational, that's the geographical location of choice for you. But the truth is that we're infiltrating the infiltrators. Raw Spirit Festival is going to Washington, D.C. next weekend. That's crazy. Now, somehow, I kind of had this intuitive feeling that our current president would be our current president right now, and that the whole system was going to be a little bit more open, even though it's very controversial. And we're a nonprofit, so we're not a political organization by any means, but we just would like to bring the health educational aspects to the people and let people know that we have a choice, and that disease is very past century, isn't it? It's really démodé. And being sick, it's just very out of fashion. Let's face it. And that being, full of disease, it's really obsolete. Now that we know that whatever we put in our mouth and whatever we speak, whatever we think, is creating this state of healthy, loving kindness or the state of disease every second. So we can take a moment to even look at ourselves like, what did I have for breakfast today? And if you didn't have any nasturtium since you've been here, by the way, there is a lot of nasturtium that's waiting for you around town or just outside of town. There's a lot of seaweed on the beach. We complemented our nasturtium with seaweed. And then there's a lot of delicious concoctions to eat here. But as I was saying earlier, we want to look at if we eat too much sugar, what is it in our life that is encouraging us to overindulge in sugar? How can we become more sweet in our everyday interactions? So I do certain things with my friends that have known me for a while that I like to share with you to make my life sweeter. When I'm traveling with people, we enjoy singing a lot. So I usually wake up singing, and we just sing the corniest love songs to each other, and just friends, like buddies. Another thing that we do is we usually start our meals, this is a happy habit, by taking the first bite, and you might swap spoons. We usually eat with spoon because the fork is an implement of torture. The spoon is an implement of peaceful loving kindness where nobody can get hurt. And then we, after that, then I think we've got 2 more minutes. And then what we do is we feed each other that first bite of food. And believe it or not, it's the most intimate prayer when you just take a moment. Now, if you really like that form of prayer, then you keep feeding each other the whole meal. I once traveled with someone, we fed each other for 3 months. I never put a bite of food in my own mouth. It was really an adjustment when I had to come home and he had to go to New Zealand, and I had to start feeding myself again. And another thing is, how do we create intimacy? By that, I'm not talking sexual intimacy. Actually, I'm a real advocate of celibacy whenever you can, because you have so much more energy. Even people in relationships, to just keep it as moderate as possible, then it keeps it more passionate, and then you have so much energy that's juicy energy for everything else, being of service to the world at large. And the last thing, because it's time now, and I have 100 other aspects of healthy living I wish to talk about today, is this parable. And I'm going to tell you very quickly about looking at our situation today. And the parable is this. There was a monk, and he lived in the Himalayas, in the desert. And he was traveling with disciples. And the disciples were walking through the desert, up in the mountains. And winter was approaching, and the night was cold and bitter. And they saw down below, it was dusk, they looked down below and they saw a village. And it only had 3 houses lit up. And they decided to walk down to that village because they were cold and they were hungry and they were very scantily clad for the winter season. Okay, and I will continue the story there, at the back of the room. Thank you for coming. Peace be with you, and may the bliss be with you always.